I'm shooting that gun, no reload. Ooh, ooh.
Okay, so we'll have a real quick conversation. It's not because you're fat. Like when they say that to you, it's not because like, well, you're fat and that's the end of it. That's what you hear, and then you think you can dismiss it because you don't think there's anything wrong with being fat. But let me run this down for you. When you have a problem or when you have an issue in society and they just reach back at your fat, I would love to know what that was actually about. Because if it's about healthcare, if it's about anything about the global pandemic, you're massively privileged in trying to stay morbidly obese, not doing anything about it to recover, not doing anything about it to reduce your own personal health risk, which would then reduce your risk of using hospital resources, which I thought was the most important thing in the world after 2020. It is massive obese privilege for you to eat in a way that you are to maintain an unhealthy state of obesity while other people starve in the world. It is just massive privilege. It shows that you are a horrible person, in my opinion, of course. If you really are not trying to reduce your body size at this state and time for how we are in the world with the number of people starving, for how we're closing down and locking down places because we have too many high-risk people, which you are because you're morbidly obese. You're not fat, you're morbidly obese. If you don't think that that is massive privilege, that you should be able to eat in a way that keeps you in an unhealthy state, and yet you want to actually be able to say, well, all they do is say I'm fat. No, woman, you need to actually reduce your body weight. You're a horrible person. You are literally risking healthcare resources that should go to somebody's grandma. You are making yourself immunocompromised in a chronic inflammatory state and then scoffing it like that's all they got to say. Woman, when somebody says to you, hey, you're morbidly obese or you're fat, that is actually a sign of ill health. Like you are an ill health woman right now. And you are perfectly fine with being that. And for some reason you think it's just like, well, that's all they got to say. There is so much tied up into them saying you're fat. That means that you're in a constantly inflammatory state due to your own actions. That means that you can even have brain inflammation and you're risking all sorts of other diseases that would cause you to use healthcare resources at a higher rate and us to spend more money on you for those healthcare issues that you would develop at a faster rate than other people of a healthier weight who watch out for themselves. Yet alone the fact that if you really want to consider you doing your part for society in this time of global pandemic, you would be massively reducing your risks down, your own personal risks down. You've had 20 months of this pandemic going on. You could have lost 100 pounds by now. No shit. Pretty easy. And I want one more time to say, it is not because you're fat. And you are not a bad person because you're fat. You are a bad person because you think that being fat is not an issue and you're flaunting it in people's faces, showing massive obese privilege. When you folk come at me and say that I'm the meanie for pointing out all these things that are factually based and true of what I just said, all that comes across as, you're just a meanie head. Just like for you when somebody calls you fat. God damn.